How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Jose Show. Happy Tuesday. Okay, so now let's get into the hot tea, shall we? Now let's talk about Kim Zolciak and Kroy Biermann. So, more trouble for Kim Zolciak and Kroy Biermann and their ugly divorce as things got so bad during a fight at home. Their own kid had to call the cops. So, law enforcement sources told TMZ cops got a call to the estranged couple's Georgia mansion Monday night for a verbal domestic dispute. We're told in all three officers and a supervisor arrived on the call to try and settle things out with Kim and Kroy. So, what's most disturbing, our law enforcement sources say it was one of the couple's four young kids who called cops, and the fight was extremely loud. Okay, so eventually, we're told cops were able to calm things down between the two. And it's not the first, second, or even the third time officers have been called to Kim and Kroy's house while they continued to hammer out their divorce. It was back in August when Kim called cops and accused Kroy of locking her out of their bedroom. She called again late September to tell officers she didn't feel safe at home. Okay, so fans were surprised to see Kim and Kroy celebrating their wedding anniversary together a couple weeks ago, but things have obviously turned sour once again. Okay, so these two definitely need to get a freaking divorce because these two are fighting and fighting and fighting. And I don't think that's normal in a freaking marriage. And I don't even think it's normal for these boys to be seeing all of that. Okay, and God forbid that these boys end up being horrible husbands in the future because they think that it's normal to be fighting in a marriage because they got to be witnessing all of that now. But Jesus Christ, these two, Kim and Kroy, really do not give a crap if these kids are witnessing all of this because they are all about themselves. And since they are all about themselves, they are only thinking about their own problems, they are only thinking about their own ridiculousness, and that is basically it. And that to me is horrible. And another thing that I think that these two need is a freaking psychiatrist in order to fix them up emotionally. Because if they get fixed up emotionally, hopefully these two will finally get it together and not misbehave anymore. And I'm pretty sure that at this point, these poor cops are sick and tired at arriving to their freaking house since it's been like 4 or 5 times now that they are arriving to their house. Like Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. But honestly though, I think that Kim and Kroy, in my personal opinion, since they have been noticing that their marriage has been nothing but a freaking joke, I feel like they should have separated to begin with, and they should have already found themselves a different way in their life to begin with. So that way, things like this would have never happened. But since they still wanted to be together and fix things up, supposedly, now look, they are both now into more and more trouble. And God forbid that in the near future, Kim and Kroy are going to end up physically abusing each other because if there's one thing that loud altercations like these lead to is to a physical abuse in a marriage, and that is very scary right there, and we do not want to see these two in a freaking jailhouse. Oh, hell no. Nor do we want to see a bunch of black guys. But anyways, I wish these two nothing but luck. I wish these two nothing but luck. Now on to the next topic. Now, let's talk about David Letterman. So, for the first time since metaphorically handing over the baton, Stephen Colbert welcomed David Letterman back to the Ed Sullivan Theater and to the Late Show on Monday night. The late night legend was greeted with the first of two standing ovations. Now, oh my God, Stephen, control your audience, Letterman said after the furor finally died down. I will say this is the most enthusiastic audience I have been in near since the night I announced I was quitting. All right, so anyways, as sharp as ever, there was a humility in Letterman's demeanor that was evident throughout his visit in many ways. He was the quintessential guest sharing stories and quips, but at other times it almost felt as if he was settling back into his own show. Okay, so ever the gracious host, Colbert was more than happy to let Letterman do his thing. From any side of the desk, he had nothing but praise for Colbert's late show, saying the host makes it look easy when they both know it's anything but. Okay, so he even praised the upgrades to the Ed Sullivan Theater in the past 8 years, including his dressing room. The dressing room is better than the nicest hotel room I've ever stayed in my life, he said. I'll be here through Christmas. And the host recalled some of their last visits together, with Colbert seemingly having a stronger recall of those chats. Letterman said he mainly remembered just two things from their final meeting before Colbert took over. Okay, so this is very cool that the one and only David Letterman got to be visiting the Stephen Colbert show, because David Letterman is a freaking icon. He is literally like the best late night host out there. Okay, he is the king, he is the pioneer, in my personal opinion, because he, I believe, was the one that started it all along with Jay Leno. And I don't think that we would have a Jimmy Fallon, nor a Jimmy Kimmel, nor any other late night host if it wasn't for David Letterman and Jay Leno. Come on now. And these two, by the way, got to interview the biggest artists on earth. They got to interview Mariah Carey, they got to interview Jennifer Lopez, and etc. etc. And man, Jay Leno and this dude, David Letterman, really knew how to ask the questions really well, especially David Letterman. Let's remember, because David Letterman always asked how the artist was doing, how the artist did this, how the artist got to where they were, and they really knew how to bring in the jokes and not hurt their feelings. And they really knew how to even chime in into more good questions that would make the artist feel so comfortable in their own show, which is the reason to why these artists, by the way, would attend their show very often. And now that David Letterman is gone, I feel like late night show business hasn't been the same anymore. I mean, yeah, Jimmy Fallon is good, Jimmy Kimmel is good, etc., but I mean, there is nothing better than to see the one and only David Letterman doing it out there in the late night show business. Come on now. And yeah, a lot of people, by the way, remember David Letterman so well as this king of late night. And, he will forever be remembered as that, in my opinion. He will forever be remembered. But, anyways, um, I feel like if David Letterman were to return to late night business, I'm pretty sure that the ratings would go up the roof because of how much he is missed. And trust me, he would be inviting so many artists to his show, and all of those artists would definitely accept the invite. And they would have so much to talk about with David Letterman, that's for sure. But unfortunately, David Letterman is not going to be returning to Late Night Talk, because unfortunately now he's more in his retired mode, and now it's all up to Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and these other hosts. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. But man, like I said, I don't think that anybody can top the one and only David Letterman. All right, now on to the next topic. Now, let's talk about something more serious. So, the teenage son of Teen Mom star Janelle Evans is hospitalized after running away once again, and this time Child Protective Services is taking custody of Jace, TMZ has learned. So, sources with direct knowledge tell us Janelle's 14-year-old son ran away from his grandmother's home Saturday and wasn't found until 11:45 p.m. Sunday. Jace had previously run away from Janelle's home several times and was placed under the care of Janelle's mom, Barbara. So our sources say Jace is now in a hospital, and CPS will place him in foster care as he's run away so many times. Okay, so our sources say Jace was recently busted for vaping at his school, and when Grandma found out, she took away his phone. We're told Barbara had been advised by Janelle, CPS, and the foster care team not to give Jace a phone in the first place, but she thought he could handle it. Okay, so when Barbara took the phone away as punishment, we're told Jace split, prompting this latest search for the teen. Okay, so running away has become a trend with Jace, as we've reported. This is at least the fourth time he's run away from home, including the time in September when he slipped out a window on the same day. Janelle's husband, David Eason, is accused of roughing him up. Okay, so, anyways, this is all according to TMZ. Okay, so this is what I have to say about this. This is very sad that this is going on here. with Janelle Evans' son. But the fact that Janelle Evans' son is being very rebellious comes to show that a teenager is not easy to handle at all. Because unfortunately, with teenagers, you tell them one thing and they will go off and do another thing because they are the ones that are correct all the time when in reality they're not. And they get so rebellious to the point that then they end up going off on their own, but then later on they go off and regret what they did because then they find out that what they did was wrong. But I feel like this guy, if he's really going to be in a foster home, then these people at the foster home, they're going to have to keep him on check really well. And they're really going to have to be strict with him so that way he can actually behave the way he's supposed to be behaving. But in my opinion, a teenager vaping is not a really good thing. I think that this guy is vaping because he thinks that it's really cool to be vaping. But guess what? If you're going to be vaping, especially at a very young age, it's going to lead you to so many lung problems. It's going to lead you to so much addict problems as well. And then later on, you're going to end up looking like a freaking old person because if there's one thing that ages you a lot is freaking vaping or smoking from a freaking cigarette. So, anyways, this guy really needs to get it together. And I feel so sorry for the mother that has been dealing with all of this, but I feel like the mother should not be the one that's in trouble here at all. If a lot of people are pointing fingers at her, I feel like it's the son that should be in trouble. You know, the mother could do only so much. She definitely only can. But anyways, to all of you parents out there that are parents of teenagers, please be careful. Have a word with your son or with your daughter on what to do and not and on what not to do so that way they can actually behave straight and not end up in a situation like what Janelle Evans is in right now. Okay?